Frenchie's Art Gallery, located on historic Oak Street beside the Maple Leaf Bar. With over 3,000 square feet of space, it features a large gallery front room and Frenchie's personal art studio. Frenchie's Art Gallery is also connected to the Maple Leaf Courtyard, which is ideal for the New Orleans night scene. Frenchie's Art Gallery, 8314 Oak Street. Yeah, you're right.
Located at 109 Wall Boulevard in Gretna, Uniforms by Logo Express provides school uniforms, medical wear, hospitality wear, safety and industrial wear, and so much more. We offer a number of locations on both sides of the river. 2 in Chantilly, 1 in Woodmere, and our main store located in Gretna. Uniforms by Logo Express. Your brand starts here.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
So here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to the 49th edition of Primetime Sports. Yep, I can't believe it either. Hey, I was going to open this show talking about the NFL playoff games this weekend, well, in the Super Bowl matchup between the New England Patriots and those dreaded Dirty Birds from Atlanta. But after the Pelicans' shocking victory last night over the defending champion Cleveland Cavaliers, well, led by, of course, the best player on the planet, LeBron James, I wouldn't normally say any Pelicans win is shocking, but especially consider going into last night's game, the Pels had beaten the Cavs 5 straight times in the games played at the Smoothie King Center, but last night was a little bit different. It was shocking. Hey, listen, the Cavs came into this game extremely hungry. They'd lost a heartbreaker on Saturday night to the San Antonio Spurs in overtime, and the Pelicans, wow. Well, the Pelicans, they were coming off one of their worst losses in franchise history, in my opinion only. Hey, dropping the game by 30 points to the Brooklyn Nets. Hey, the same Brooklyn Nets team who lost 11 games in a row had won only one road game all year long. They were 1-18 on the road and 0 wins in the year 2017. But there's always hope, right? Despite playing last night against the big three of LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving, who was on fire for 49 points, well, the Pels were also playing without their superstar Anthony Davis. They managed to pull out one of the most unlikely victories in the NBA this season, 124-122. Behind Terrence Jones had 36 points. That tied a career high for him. And Drew Holiday, well, that's the Drew Holiday they got in the trade from the Philadelphia 76ers. 33 points, 10 assists, and 6 rebounds. Hey, and speaking of basketball, I got to give it up. Over there on the lakefront, what UNO is doing at 6-1 behind head coach Mark Schlesinger. See right there, he's showing the ref, hey, this is how you need to make the call. Put these glasses on, you might see better. I love it. Well, they're led by Eric Thomas, man. He's averaging over 20 points a game. Christavius Gill, a little diminutive guard, is doing things. These are all seniors. And how about super sub Nate Fry, who comes off the bench? He's doing great things as well. All these guys, especially the last two, are local guys. And by the way, the NFC Championship, that, of course, that was Sunday afternoon, and it was a destruction. Atlanta destroyed the Green Bay Packers. Got to tell you, this was a bit shocking to me. Green Bay come in this game and won 8 games in a row. Matt Ryan showed everybody here who hates to hate on him why he might just be the best quarterback in the NFL this season. That's saying a lot considering Tom Brady, obviously Aaron Rodgers, and a guy named Drew Brees who put up another 5,000-yard season. But this offense they have is reminding me of 2011. It is dynamite. Julio Jones is probably the best wide receiver on the planet. But they're going to have their hands full because they have to play the New England Patriots. And when you think of New England, well, you think of 2 guys, and one of them isn't even on the field playing. And first of all, it's Tom Brady. We all know him. He might just be the best quarterback in NFL history. And if he wins this Super Bowl, I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of argument anymore. But you also have one of the greatest coaches in NFL history in Bill Belichick. These two together have done remarkable things. This is going to be their 7th Super Bowl together. That is incredible. They will have won 5 if they can pull this one out. It's going to be interesting. We're going to get a lot of that Super Bowl talk, as well as the Pelicans with Jay Orleans. Man, he was one of my favorite guest hosts with me when I used to do ESPN Radio. He is with Love Sports and Hip Hop, and also he has a Saints postgame show called the Who Dat Boys, so we'll get into the Saints as well. But I've got a couple more coaches. We've been bringing a lot of head coaches in. This time we're going to have football and baseball. Ron Roberts, the head coach for the Southeastern Lions. They've done some great things. 27 wins in the last 3 years. They've been keeping it under the profile, but they are doing wonderful things up in Hammond. And how about new baseball head coach Travis Jewett of the Tulane Green Wave? I can't wait for him. And don't forget, next week we go to CST as well, along with WLAE. And I'm kicking off with Paul Maneri, John Brady, Bobby Hebert, and Miles Brennan signing a letter of intent with the Tigers the day before he signs. He'll be on this show. And, of course, he is going to play quarterback for the LSU Tigers. I'm Scott Alexander. We got a great show for you ahead right here on Primetime Sports. Welcome back, Crescent City, and it's always great to hear Ephraim E.T. Towns from the Dirty Dozen Brass Band. I've got a great show today, but I got to take you back to, say, November of 2015, just 14 months ago. Well, Tulane Green Wave, they hired a brand new athletic director, Troy Dannon, who was on this show just a few months ago, and he had the Herculean task of hiring a bunch of coaches. Well, he got a new volleyball coach. His name's Jim Barnes. Well, he got a new football coach. I think that was first on his list. His name's Willie Fritz. We've had him on a couple times, including right before Christmas. And he went deep and got the basketball coach named Mike Dunleavy, obviously, former Laker coach, former Blazer coach, former Clipper coach, and he is down here in New Orleans. But also recently, he got a new baseball coach, and it's coming up on baseball season, so that's who I have here now. His name is Travis Jewett, and he was with Vanderbilt for the last 4 years. And, oh, by the way, they won a national championship and were runner-up the following year. They know how to play baseball. He's also been at powerhouse Arizona State. He spent more than a decade with 3 of the main schools in the state of Washington, Washington State, Washington, and Gonzaga. And here he is right here on Primetime Sports on his debut. Travis Jewett, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. First of all, as a former Tulane bat boy, this is an honor. And for those of you that don't know, Tulane, well, they have a history of not having coaches that leave very often. Joe Brockhoff and Rick Jones were here for 40 years combined, back-to-back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s. Before that, it was Milt Retief. And then you had David Pierce for the last 2 years and a little bit of an interim coach. So basically, you're the 5th coach at Tulane in the last 50 years. That's a lifetime job.
Absolutely it is. Hopefully I'll be here for quite some time. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Talk about when you were getting interviewed for the job, okay? Because I have to just say this because there was a couple big-time candidates that everybody just assumed, being from New Orleans, you had a couple heroes that were doing things close by. Obviously, Andy Cannizaro, who is now the Mississippi State head coach. He was right up the road at LSU. And you had Matt Reiser, who also played at Tulane. These are both Tulane heroes. So everybody said, okay, who's it going to be, Reiser? Or is it going to be Cannizaro? And all of a sudden, we kept hearing this name, Travis Jewett, as the dark horse, and it started gaining momentum. My question to you is, did you know any of this was going on, or were you aware of the other candidates?
Well, certainly social media will leak out some names to you and things like that. But, those 2 names that you said qualified beyond belief. Both those guys could be doing this job. I wish them well where they're at. Andy, I've talked to him since I've gotten this job. They're more than qualified. But, I'm just excited that I was the chosen one, so to speak. And, I think my time at Vanderbilt, the private school sector,
right,
the scholarships, the financial aid, the things like that, I think that might have put my maybe one foot in front of the other, so to speak, and gave me a little bit of an insight. But certainly no better than any of those guys for sure. And, I'm just glad to be here.
Well, I had Andy on recently, and he says you're the perfect guy for the job. I mean, he said, listen, the background he has is uncomparable. I mean, when you talk about your history with Vanderbilt especially, but this isn't anything new to you. Kind of let people know who you are, Travis, where you're from, and where you spent most of your time coaching.
Well, I'm from Tacoma, Washington.
There you go.
And so for the people that don't know where that's at, it's about 30 miles south of Seattle.
It's far.
Yeah, it's far from here.
Right.
I seem to kind of keep moving further southeast as my career goes on, which I think is a good thing. Started out grassroots, junior college, 1994, 5-ish. Had no idea that coaching baseball was the direction I was headed.
Interesting. All right.
Got a call from the athletic director from my hometown, Tacoma Community College. They're looking for somebody for the job. I understood why now, no pay, a lot of hours.
Now you know.
Things like that.
Looking for a job.
Yeah.
Right.
So, love baseball, obviously. Took an opportunity and ran with it. And then as, people say, you get that itch or gets in your blood a little bit, and next thing you know, you kind of, see this being something that you want to do. But I was pretty just entrenched in the junior college, my first job.
Right,
I mowed the field. I dug all the trenches, got the water off. We mowed, we watered, we bought the uniform. I mean,
so you can appreciate everybody that does a job on the field.
No question. And, when my career has evolved like it has, I'm blessed, and I never really try to forget where I came from, so to speak. I think that keeps me humbled and grounded and things like that. But, just a couple junior college jobs up there. Went to Edmonds Community College after that. So, I started out
in that in Washington too?
That is.
All right, so
that is a little bit further north of Seattle. So, same state, but just a little bit further north.
So 3 years at Gonzaga after all this, and then 3 years at, I believe, at UW, Washington, by the way, Final 14 this year in football, and Washington State for 5. Pullman has to be the hardest place to get to in America, other than Alaska and Hawaii, maybe.
And maybe the coldest.
Pretty chilly.
Yeah, so...
It's beautiful up in the Palouse, though. I mean, parts of it is. I mean,
no doubt. You get a good day up there, and, you think you're in a good spot, so... But yeah, just fortunate. Each one of the steps, I know, like you mentioned my stops, it seems like a lot, and it actually is, but they were all career advancements, position-wise,
sure.
salary-wise, whatever you might see. But just, I was able to, just get started at Gonzaga. That was my first Division I job. Mark Machthoff, actually the head coach there now, called me up and said they were looking for a coach, and did I know anybody that'd be interested? And I told him, I have no idea. I was just entrenched in the Edmonds Community College job. We just won a junior college championship. And he said, well, I do. I'm talking to him. And it kind of spurred from there.
Wow.
Tracy, my wife, who I'd be remiss not to mention on this show in my career, because she's, gone everywhere with me. And the first job at Gonzaga.
It's not easy being a coach's wife, is it? I mean, honestly.
I think it's real easy, but no, you'd have to ask her. I don't think it is. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it is. We're gone a lot. We're on the phone a lot. Interrupted dinners, missed birthdays, lots of things, to kind of do what we're doing. But first job I took at Gonzaga, $5,000, no benefits, and a brand new baby. And my wife Tracy said, "Let's do it." So that could tell you right there.
Tells you everything you need to know. And now you're making $6,000.
That's right. So I'm getting better every year. So,
all right.
But it's been a journey. But again, I just try to take all the experiences and things that I've learned, good and bad, along the way. And now I've got this opportunity here at this wonderful university, and I'm just, going to try to do my best.
Speaking about this wonderful university, one thing I know for sure that Tulane fans take pride in, and that's their baseball. Okay, they had a great run with Rick Jones, obviously a couple World Series appearances. They love their baseball. They love all their sports here, but baseball, they kind of sink their teeth in. And you're coming into some tradition, and you're coming into a team that's just coming off a conference championship, and they got some talent coming back. So when you talk about these young players that you have, well, you also have a lot of seniors as well. So let's start with those guys. Seems like the two Hunters, Hunter Hope and Hunter Williams, seems like they've been around since the Bush administration. The first one, meaning the dad.
Yeah, exactly.
So they've been around a while. Talk about Hunter Williams first, obviously the guy with the big hit in first baseman.
Well, this kid's an absolute stud, I'll throw it out there. I love everything about this kid, from his spirit to his smile to his teammate, his work ethic. He's going to have his 8th semester coming up here for his 4th year in college. 2 semesters, 8 semesters. He's yet to get under a 4.0.
Wow, at Tulane.
At Tulane.
That's
he's
impressive.
actually today interviewing for his first medical school today. So I love the kid.
That's
he
amazing,
can be on
Coach.
any team of mine, anytime. He's going to be a wonderful professional baseball player if that's what he chooses to do. Doctor, father, husband.
Can't say enough good things, huh?
No, and he can hit.
Well,
and I'm
yeah.
thinking about actually doing something weird with him, like leading him off. Big, strong guy that actually can walk and do some things like that.
Walks a lot, 20 extra base hits. I mean, the guy gets on base quite often. He always comes through in the clutch. Speaking of, before I get to Hunter Hope, the other Hunter, for the stability that Tulane baseball has had with the 2 coaches that were here for a total of 40 years, well, these seniors really have had 4 head coaches if you include Jake Gautreaux, the interim coach, when Rick Jones took his leave of absence. Rick obviously had a great run here. Gautreaux took over for half that season, and then for the previous 2, they had David Pierce, and Pierce went on to the University of Texas, of course. And now you're the 4th. How does this message ring different from the other coaches they've had?
Well, that's hard to answer because I wasn't in the locker room with those guys. But, the one thing I will tell you is that's been probably the number one concern of mine, is that as I evaluate these guys and knowing that I am their 4th coach, I want this year to be one of great memory for them.
Right.
I really do. I could have came in and been more like, this is my team and you're going to do it this way and my way and there's no give or take. But I really see that the scenario these guys have been through, like you said, I'm their 4th coach. So they've heard a lot of different messages. They're one of their last season away from college competition.
Yeah.
And then certainly the life certificate or the Tulane degree that we refer to is right there in front of them as well. So it's really important that, relationships with these kids, because I want them to feel good. I want them to feel comfortable. I want them to feel like everything's going to be okay, and that we're going to get through this, and it's actually going to be a heck of a year for them.
You said something that just made me think of when Willie Fritz was here last month. You said, hey, this isn't a 4-year decision you're making. This is a 40-year decision you're making. Do you use that pitch? I know you're brand new, relatively here, but is that a pitch you're using? Hey, this Tulane degree will carry weight throughout life.
Absolutely. Baseball is baseball, and it's only going to go for so long. Whether it extends after college, great, but eventually it's going to be over. And, we talk about this life certificate or the Tulane degree and inserting it in their back pockets and going out and, being productive. But no question, this gives them ability to set themselves apart and be successful long time down the road.
All right, I want to talk about a couple of these other seniors. Hunter Hope, I kind of, hinted at him a little bit, but the guy has 14 home runs last year. This is not the Gorilla Ball era where 14 would have been nothing in the late 90s. This is 2017. That's a big deal. Talk about what this senior brings to your team.
Well, just that, power. Another great kid, does everything that we ask of him. He's big, strong, he's fast. It's kind of the combination that I like, actually. So, for him, everything's there. He can defend, he can throw. He needs to just start to realize, how people are trying to pitch him and how they're trying to get him out. And if it's 14 home runs with 85-ish strikeouts, just think where the numbers can go north of all of that with just some better approach and some plans and some pitch recognitions. And I really try to talk to him about where are you getting out, where are people trying to pitch you, and then it's not always, my theme to him is it's not always what you are swinging at, but a lot of times it's what you're not swinging at.
Right.
So that he can understand count leverages and getting into fastball counts and the ability to walk and do some things that make him even a more dangerous hitter. So he did a good job this fall. He checked off on a lot of tough pitches. I see his advancement offensively, going that way. So I'm looking forward to a big year from him.
Hey, you mentioned the difficulties of a private school with the scholarships. Explain what that means to the fan, because it's not a full scholarship thing like football. You have to play like jigsaw puzzle with this thing, and you have to figure out how to work it to where some guys get half. And how does this work with the partials and everything else?
Well, we get 11.7 scholarships.
Not a lot.
That's the NCAA mandated number. And the one thing I would share with people is it's not 11.7 every year. It's the balance of 11.7 with who leaves, either through the draft or graduation or attrition through, their choice to leave. They don't like it, want to do something different, whatever it might be. So on any given year, we could have 2.4, 3.5. I mean, you just don't really know what it is. And then you've got to go out and identify what you think you're going to lose, and then you got to try to replace it. And so with a 35-man roster and 11.7 scholarships, you could see where the math is. How do you do it?
I mean, honestly.
You've got to create a formula,
yeah.
And I know when I first got here, I shared with Troy and the administration, this is kind of my master plan, in terms of where I think the money needs to be spent for us to develop a roster that has a chance to do what other Tulane teams have done in the past, which is make it to Omaha. And so you have to have pitching, and
absolutely.
And we've got to get the roster right. We've got to get the monies put in the right areas to give ourselves the best chance. And so we just try to, we do a lot of things. We got to find different combos. We got to find good kids with good grades that can afford it. We've got to find, if we find a really good kid with a power arm and we like this kid and he can't afford it, then we got to help him afford it by giving him one of our scholarships.
Right.
So we just try to kind of mix and match. And the beautiful thing about the NCAA and Tulane is that, they can qualify for some academic money, and we can use some baseball and academics and combo them together. And we just try to, find ways. But what we do, and I tell my assistants is, don't feel sorry for the cost that's left for these families to attend Tulane because of, again, like Willie was saying, it's the 4 for $40. It's so worth something,
Certainly
and it's
is,
just,
yeah.
It's the value of the education. And when you're going to get something elite like this, sometimes it costs a little bit more. And so
I can see you in the living room. I can see you selling this thing. All right, I got to ask you, man. You said you got to have pitching. Well, you did inherit two pretty darn good ones. I mean, you got the freshman All-American, the left-hander, Massey. You see him right there. And also, you got a guy that's been around, another senior, Corey Merrill.
Two good ones for sure, and I'm very appreciative of that inheritance, believe me. The list goes deeper, I would say that we're going to have to evaluate that 4 starter, the bullpen, the closer, those types of things. But I think going into the weekend, without getting myself in trouble here, Massey, Merrill, and France would be 3 names that have done it.
Yes.
Yep, JP France.
Yep.
They've done it. They're experienced. I like their heartbeats. I think they compete. I think they understand, how to win. They can field their position. They can hold runners. Things that you need to be able to do to be a quality starting pitcher. So those 3 guys give us a chance. We've got to identify Tuesday and Wednesday. We've got to find a short guy in the pen. We've got to find a long guy in the pen. And we certainly have to find a slammer, so to speak, in the pen, a guy that we can label the closer that can do what we like to say. When you give the ball to this guy, you win the ones you're supposed to. That's the ones like you have the lead when you give him the ball and you're supposed to win. But that guy takes resiliency. He's got to have stuff. So we're just working through those types of things and just trying to evaluate where these guys are going to fit, and then trying to preach a culture that says, like, no matter what role it is, it's just the role that best helps the team, and that's what everybody's going to be into.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention a couple more seniors, Jake Wilsey and obviously Lex Kaplan, but because of time, I'm just going to give those guys props. I love them. It seems like Wilsey always came through with the big hit last year when I was watching games. Great defender as well at second base. But I got to ask you, this is what's probably on the tip of everybody's mind. That's a Tulane fan. How do you replace Jeremy Montalbano, maybe the best defensive catcher in all of baseball last year? Seriously, as far as the college level. And Stephen Alamaze at shortstop. I mean, this guy is big time, high draft pick. How do you replace those two such important positions at short and catcher?
Do you have the phone a friend option on this show?
I don't know if I like that look on your face.
I've met both of them. What great guys, So I know statistically, they're very good players, but they're really good guys. They've come back around, and I've certainly tried to welcome them back. But I don't know if you can. And you said Jeremy Montalbano, and he's back, but Jake Rogers was the catcher.
My bad.
Yeah, no.
That's
fine.
bad. What am I talking about? Jake Rogers.
Yeah, that's okay. But Jake was a big-time catch and throw.
He's amazing, yeah.
Yeah. We go to...
Well, Todd Graffinini had one of the great calls on the Jake Rogers home run.
Yeah.
Against Ole Miss, correct?
Correct.
That was phenomenal. Todd, if you're watching the show, that's the best call I've ever heard in baseball, and I produced Braves games for 15 years. So that was incredible.
I'll have to keep Graf humble today when I see him.
Graf's my favorite, man.
Yeah, he's elite.
Back.
He is elite, and we're happy to have him. But
I can't believe I brain farted on this. Tulane friends of mine will never let me forget. I had catchers on my mind, but Jake Rogers was that guy. One last thing, your rapport with the fans was evident from day one. When you got introduced at the media day, there's my friend Vince Liberto right in the front right there.
Oh, yeah.
He's a selfie king. And then the backers, the green backers. But no, they're a big part of this Tulane program, but you're obviously... Your rapport with the folks that are part of this team, I mean, Troy Dannon pointed that out to me. He goes, fans are going to love him. He's one of the people.
And I am. I want to be. That's important to me. The program is more than just the bases and the balls and the bats. It's about the facility and the fan experience and my engaging with them. And, I've been to a lot of speaking engagements, and just any time that I can talk about the university and the baseball program and meet these people and see their excitement, it only gets me more excited. So I'm a pretty energetic guy. A lot of people come out to the training sessions and say, "You're the only baseball coach I've ever seen wearing a whistle," and things like that. But I just like to have fun. I like to see the kids smile and engage in one another. And I'm hoping the way we play and get after it will engage the fans. Their spirit will engage our kids. And it's just kind of a rolling downhill from there.
Coach,
so
I had like 20 more things to chat with you about. I mean, I could have gone all day. We're going to get you on during the season. Maybe maybe before one of the LSU games. Y'all play them twice again this year?
We do.
That's always fun. And last year, you've had some recent success. By the way, this is as good as it gets for you because Shays de la Shays is right by Tulane's campus on Maple between Carrollton and Broadway.
Beautiful.
Go enjoy. You can take your wife or just go for lunch.
Yeah.
Travis, I appreciate it. I'm not going to make you touch that LSU ball. But since you're in New Orleans, you got to be an honorary Saints fan.
Love it.
Hope
Been to a few games.
Travis Jewett. We've had Willie Fritz. We've had Mike Dunleavy. I guess I got to get the volleyball coach. We've had Troy Dannon on as well. And now Travis Jewett. Good luck. Season starts against Army on the 17th. Army, Air Force, and Army again. See, I've been studying the schedule.
Yes, you have.
Please forgive me on the Jake Rogers. I can't even believe I did that. But bottom line is, thank you, Travis Jewett.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Once again. Take care. Hey, coming back, we're going to stay with head coaches. This is recruiting season for football, and we're right down towards the end. And I have a guy that's had some great success right up the road. His name is Ron Roberts for Southeastern Lions. I cannot wait to have him. By the way, next week, I just want to remind you, there's going to be Paul Maneri, another head coach, up the road for LSU. He's going to be on the show. And John Brady, the former LSU Final Four coach. Maneri's obviously won a national championship. Bobby Hebert is going to come down. He's going to be on the show as well. And don't forget also Miles Brennan, who will be signing his letter of intent for LSU. The #1 player in the state of Mississippi. Quarterback is going to be here as well the day before he signs with the Tigers. So we got a big one next week. But next, Ron Roberts. Southeastern Lion fans, get ready. We'll be right back on Primetime Sports. Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans. Welcome back, New Orleans. I want to thank Travis Jewett, the head baseball coach for the Tulane Green Wave. And if you've been watching the show regularly, you know we bring a lot of football coaches on, and this week is no different. Hey, listen, Southeastern football in Hammond, if you haven't been paying attention, they've been doing some great things. Before my next guest became the head coach, they hadn't had a winning season since, well, Hal Mumme, who resurrected the program. Remember, Southeastern didn't have football for 18 years, and about 13, 14 years ago, Hal Mumme, the former Kentucky coach, well, he came in and took over, and he did pretty well to start it off. They had a few down years, and they hired my next guest, Ron Roberts. And let me tell you, 36-24 since he's been there. They had a 2-year stretch in 13 and 14 where they were 20-7, had some playoff success as well. And here he is, right during the middle of recruiting season. He's taking a little time off. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
Well, this is knee-deep in recruiting. I mean, I got to start right there because there are a lot of people out there. I was told by a few of the high school quarterbacks that we had that they tell me they all watch the show. I got to ask you one question. If you're, 2 weeks away from recruiting day? Was it 1 week away?
We're a week and a half, yeah.
1 week and 1 day away from National Signing Day.
Right.
So what do you tell a player when you go into the kitchen with the family and say, hey, Southeastern's a place for you to be?
Well, I think obviously our selling points is we have a great education. We have fabulous education, and the fact that, again, an opportunity to compete for championships. And we've had some pretty good success here in the state. We went 13-2 versus in-state rivals in the last 5 years, and that's it speaks some volumes. And then we've had success also with our kids going on. We've had 16 players in the last 5 years going to NFL camps. So I think we have our ability to fulfill some kids' dreams and obviously get their education and take care of themselves for the next 40 years of their life. Education is the most important thing, but 13 out of 15 against in-state teams the last couple of years, that's impressive. Well, thank you. Yeah, I think we've had some success, and a lot of it goes back to the type of kids we have. I think we've had some kids that really take pride in representing Southeast Louisiana. One of those kids has been on the national stage a lot lately. His name is Robert Alford. He was the second-round pick a couple years back with the Atlanta Falcons. And here in New Orleans, we don't like to give the Dirty Birds credit, but this kid was fantastic for your program, and he's doing great things in the NFL. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm so happy for him. He got the opportunity to go to a Super Bowl. I mean, just not everybody gets the opportunity to play in the NFL, but obviously to go in the NFL and go to a Super Bowl is a pretty amazing feat, and he's done well just representing our program and getting our name out there. He's a fantastic young man. I got to talk to him when he was doing some, pre-draft stuff, I think Senior Bowl and all that. Yeah. But I got to ask you, did you teach him how to do this flop he did the other day? No. Because we have the sequence. I don't blame him. Aaron Rodgers literally ripped his helmet off of him right there. Yeah. And then he gets up, and there he is flopping back into the round. It was a little bit delayed, but he's made the national news a lot this week. No doubt. Hey, Rob's got a little flair for the dramatics, so he's all right. That was a little. I laughed and got a chuckle out of it, so I saw it as well. Well, he's not the only guy that's a defensive back that is in the league. A guy named Harlan Miller last year was the 6th-round pick for the Arizona Cardinals, and he's another guy that ends up starting in his rookie year towards the end of the year. Yeah. Talk about him. I mean, it's not easy to start in that defensive backfield of all places with Patrick Peterson and Honey Badger and all those great players. Talk about what he meant for you. Yeah, he was obviously a fabulous player for us, and it was just everything you asked him to do was a tremendous representative of our program. But goes in there and it's just great work ethic, and we knew that going in. That was one of the things challenged that he had a real knack for learning the game of football. He was a very intelligent young man and extreme great work ethic. So did get his opportunity. Started the last 2 ball games, had 7 tackles and an interception, and obviously has put himself in a great position to hopefully latch onto that organization for a while. You have a great, always seem to play like the Oklahoma States, and as maybe a pre-conference opponent. What does that mean for your program playing teams like that to get ready? Because conference record 7-2 last season, like you said, tons of success the 2 previous years, off the charts. But getting the tone set by playing that tough team, what does it mean for your program? Well, it's a good. I always look at it as a good opportunity for us to evaluate ourselves from where we're at. Obviously, this last year we played Oklahoma State. We obviously weren't ready for that battle, and then but we got a chance to evaluate some talent. We played quite a bit of kids in those ball games. It's really a chance for us to evaluate our program. It's kind of we take this as those preseason games, and we're trying to just evaluate where we're at before we go into conference play. I'm going to tell you this: not a lot of teams could play with Oklahoma State. I did 3 of their games this year. Doing some games with Tim Brando, and they are a powerhouse. Okay, they could play with anybody. Yeah. Oklahoma kind of took it to them towards the end of that game I had at the end of the season, but they're great. But the program is starting to speak for itself with recruits. One guy that came in and helped you out a lot is a guy named Brian Bennett. He was an Oregon quarterback, and he was getting some time at Oregon. Right. He decided to transfer over. There was a guy named Marcus Mariota that obviously kind of took over, won the Heisman Trophy, so he wanted to play. So he comes down and literally leads your team to 2 great seasons. That 11-3 year was magical. Yeah. Obviously, you go to the playoffs and do some nice things there. But talk about what this young man meant for your program going forward since he left. Just fabulous job. Not just, I always talk about Brian. The best thing about Brian wasn't just his ability to play the game. The best thing about Brian was his ability to lead other people and make other people around him better. Tremendous work ethic, great competitiveness, and those things that he brought to our program elevated our level of play and everybody around him.
So exciting to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, this is one of these guys you would pay money to watch. Even in the media, we get a free pass. And I'm like, golly, I went to a couple of games, like, you got to go see him. I mean, he is something else. Now, he's not in the NFL, but I think his talents are suited to where he is. He's in the Canadian Football League.
Great.
Talk about what he's done in the year or so since he's left campus in Hammond.
Well, obviously, he went to the Indianapolis Colts,
Right.
Made it close, in the preseason, was released, went to Winnipeg, played there in 15, and then was latched on to Saskatchewan. So he's with the Saskatchewan team up in the CFL.
So it's a little cold up there.
Yeah, it's a little cold up there.
All right, I want to get into this program because, you're coming off a nice season. What are your expectations going into next season? I know you lost some really nice players.
Right.
You can talk about what's not in the cupboard anymore, but what do you have coming back, and talk about what your expectations are.
Okay. Really, again, we felt we were a pretty young football team last year. We had some kids, some quality kids, obviously, that did some great things for us that have graduated. But we felt we were pretty young, and we played a lot of kids, a lot of players. Uh-huh. We played about 28 kids on defense every ball game, and really felt that it was kind of I always hate using the term. We're not using that rebuilding, but we're trying to get back to, like I said, to play at a conference, play for conference championships, and play at that level we want and expect to play at. And so I think, again, coming in this year, I think our mentality has changed a little bit. We want to embrace the idea of we're Southeast Louisiana. We're a university of tough kids, and kids want to embrace that and be not only physically tough, mentally tough, and we want to play the game that way, and we want to play it with passion and represent Southeast Louisiana. I
remember going to a Tulane Southeastern game at night a couple of years ago, and you put a whooping on them. I mean, it was a performance that, Southeastern can play some football. I mean, they're out there. But point being is this running back you have, Julius Marcelin. Yeah, he's special. Yeah, kid out of Plaquemine. He's going to be a junior this year. Very physical running back. He rushed for 1,000 yards this year. And in the beginning of the part of the season was splitting time. Really didn't get the job till about the fourth, fifth ball game. And, I think he's something special. I think he's a kid that, again, we can latch our hat on because he is a physical type kid that comes in there and really makes his presence known to the defense, and he can wear down a defense. Well, Juwan Dickey's a wide receiver. How's he fit in your plans for next season? Great ball skills, does a tremendous job. Just honestly, you can put it in the vicinity of the guy, he's going to pull it down. Makes some unbelievable catches for us this year, and we're really looking forward to him to being that guy. Now, is this a junior college picture I'm looking at, or is this high school? I'm trying to figure out which of the two we got there. That should be a high school picture. Yeah, it's high school picture. Yeah. Well, you got another compliment to throw to, and also a great blocking, Brandon Schwabel, the tight end. Yeah, he's obviously a young guy out of a meet that has done a fascinating job, 6'5" tight end, that great ball skills, and with the absence of Juwan Rogers, a graduated senior, did with the absence of him, right. Schwabel's going to have to pick up that role, and that position for us is a huge part of our offense. Yes, it is. And it's just that kind of, you got to have that guy that not only is blocking, but that can catch the ball across the middle and do those tough things that kind of makes everybody else go. Well, you have a big offensive lineman that I'm not sure he plays like Richie Incognito, but he kind of favors him. Travis Romero. This is a big boy. I should have shown some pictures of his helmet off because he looks a lot like him. Is Shaq McClain and Travis Romero are going to anchor this line? Yeah, Shaq McClain is a guy. He started as a redshirt freshman, a young man out of Independence, Louisiana, and then Travis Romero is a fifth-year senior. The guy in that picture, who, by the way, looks like he's tackling the running back there. Yeah. Maybe you should try him on defense too. Yeah, he's a big physical kid. About 6'2", 320. Extremely strong, big physical guy inside guard that's got a bunch of game experience for us, and we're looking forward to him to be a great leader up front. I'm not sure I can pronounce this right, but I know LSU fans will know this guy because he was a huge recruit, Under Armour All-American. Yeah. Perhaps your biggest name right now, Sione Teahuma. Did I get that close enough? You're close enough. Close enough? I mean, he played at LSU. He came in last season and did some great things for you. Yeah, he did. Had a fabulous year for us. Was an all-conference player. Was just obviously he's a tremendous pass rusher, but he's an impact player. He's an NFL guy. He just needs to take care of his business in the classroom, take care of his business off the field.
continue to work and develop in his game. And I think he's a young man that's going to have opportunity to play on Sunday.
And Lee Spite with him. I mean, that's a nice linebacker core you got together. At least that tandem for sure.
Yeah, Lee Spite is a physical outside linebacker for us that has just had an amazing junior year, and we're looking forward to him to obviously having the best year of his career.
And you obviously put out DBs in the NFL. We just talked about a couple great ones, Harlan Miller and, of course, Robert Alford. But you got a couple good ones now. Max Lyons is one of them, along with Ja'Cory Fuller.
Yeah, Max Lyons is a guy, again, was a huge impact player for us as a safety, field side safety. Did a great job. He makes a bunch of plays. He's a guy you can count on. And Ja'Cory Fuller, young man out of Calvary Baptist up in Shreveport, is a guy that...
great program.
Yeah. He was a redshirt freshman this year. At the end of the year, really came on strong. Had a huge pick in the last game versus Nichols. Had a pick 6 versus SFA. He's a guy we're counting on to be a playmaker in that secondary.
Coach, sign today. Like I said, 8 days away.
Yeah.
Your fans are, you have needs. I can't talk about individual players until they're actually signed, but do you feel you're meeting the needs you needed to coming into this signing period?
Yeah, we're real excited about it. I mean, I think one of the things that we're real excited about was probably it's our best job. I think we got the best, maybe our best signing classes in high school kids in the state of Louisiana. And that is I think we've been plugging this way for 5 years, but we're bringing in the guys that we need to not have to go outside this state. And
so much talent
huge.
In this state, as you know, right?
There's so much talent. We just got to be able to keep them at home. And if we can do that, then we're going to have a great program.
Well, the word's out. I mean, Southeastern football plays hard-nosed football. They have exciting offenses. They get it done. Coach, I want to, real quick before we let you go, let people know where you're from. I mean, obviously, I like to kind of get to know the person. You've been at Southeastern for 5 years. I believe you were at Delta State for 5 as well.
Correct.
But where are you from?
I'm originally from Visalia, California.
Look at you.
Yeah. I played football in Tennessee at Tennessee Martin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you go to high school in California?
I went to high school in California, yeah.
Now, were you there at Tennessee Martin? What age group? I don't hate to
88, 89.
Okay.
Won the Gulf South Conference Championship in 1988.
Yeah. Okay, because there was a Hanson that played basketball from UT Martin. Maybe a couple years after that, he ended up playing at LSU.
Yeah. I know.
And he was a great player.
He was a freshman, I think, when I was a senior.
And he's coaching overseas right now. It's funny because one of my players, when I was an agent, played for him. How small world is that? Once again, like Travis Jewett, I'm not going to make you sign that LSU ball. We're gonna stick with. But everybody down here has got to be a Saints fan first. I've got a gift certificate. Take your beautiful wife down to that restaurant down there on Maple Street. Shays de la Shays. And here, get you on the Saints ball. This is Ron Roberts. Check them out, Southeastern football, man. They're doing some great things. How about this? 11 wins, 9 wins, 7 wins in the last 3 seasons. They are getting it done. By the way, that's an average of 9 per year. That's great stuff over here with Ron Roberts. Hey, coming up next, well, we're going to touch your nerve because we're going to talk about some Saints, but we're also going to talk about that great Pelicans win last night. How about this? They beat LeBron James. We mentioned it in the open, but we're also going to get into the NFL playoffs. That's right. Dirty Birds are in the Super Bowl, so you all got to become big New England Patriots fans. Don't tell me you've turned the corner and you're going to start rooting for the Falcons like I've heard a few of my friends. You cannot do that. This is New Orleans. Never forget. I know they're exciting to watch, but Jason Gabriel, we're going to call him Jay Orleans, coming up next right here on Primetime Sports. Welcome back, Crescent City, and it's always good to hear from Big Sam and the Funky Nation. Hey, by the way, I want to thank the 2 head coaches, Ron Roberts, obviously from Southeastern football, and then the brand new baseball coach from Tulane, Travis Jewett. And like I said, next week we're going to be hitting it hard. We're going to be also on CST, so I can't wait for that. Paul Maneri, Bobby Hebert, John Brady, and LSU commitment will be signing the very next day. His name is Miles Brennan. But next, we're going to talk about all the things you love. Football, playoffs, and how about last night? I mentioned it in the open, but the Pelicans, with perhaps their most surprising win in many, many years, well, against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the defending champion LeBron James, came in fresh off of a heartbreaking loss in overtime. They had to play San Antonio on Saturday night. They lost a tough one at home. Well, the Pelicans, they came off their worst loss probably in franchise history, at least since I've been following this team closely. It was horrible. A team that had lost 11 in a row, the Brooklyn Nets. A team that had one road win against 18 losses all year and hadn't won in the year 2017. That's right. They came in and not only beat the Pelicans, they beat them handily. It was a 40-point game at one point. They ended up winning by 30, 29 if you want to be technical. But the fact is, they turned it around last night. It was incredible. They got the victory against Cleveland. It got thrilling at the end. They led the entire way, though. And here he is, a guy that's going to talk about it. My man, Jay Orleans, by the way, if you don't know him, he was a guy that I had on my show all the time back when I did ESPN Radio. He was also a co-host with me. I would bring in people that would listen to the show and have them co-host, and without question, he was one of my favorites, without a doubt. But he knows his stuff. We're going to talk all the sports you love with him. But, by the way, he does 2 shows himself. He has podcasts, love, sports, and hip-hop. That has become a big brand in New Orleans and beyond. And he also does a post-game Saints podcast called the Who Dat Boys. So let's get into it. Once again, let me shake your hand again. My man, Jay Orleans. We go back, man.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
It is good to see you. Your debut right here. I've been wanting to bring you on. You know the local teams as well as anybody, but let's get right into it. I know you're a season ticket holder. You've been for a long time with the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not going to say shocking, but maybe it was. I don't usually use the word shocking because the Pelicans have proven they can beat teams, and they have beaten Cleveland 6 now in a row, at home, that is.
Correct.
But it was a bit shocking.
It was shocking, and it was a special place last night. The arena was rocking. It was an incredible atmosphere to be in. And without Anthony Davis, that's the thing that makes it very special. To have that kind of effort from that lineup last night was special. Alvin Gentry obviously had the guys motivated, and LeBron and company made it close. They made it close.
Well, they're LeBron and company. I mean, Kyrie Irving had 49 points. He was amazing in this game.
Amazing.
But Terrence Jones seems to really come alive. You know, he was AD's teammate. They played 1 year together. Yes. They were only there at Kentucky for a year each. One went to the Rockets, and now was with the Pelicans. That's Jones. But whenever AD's out, he seems to blow up.
He plays big. I don't know what it is. It's you're envious of it because you wish you can see it with them two on the court at the same time. But nevertheless, that game last night against arguably, and I don't know if it's arguable, the best player in the NBA, LeBron James, the way he played, unintimidated.
I think he's the best player in the NBA.
Absolutely.
All right. I mean, he just does so many things. Let's not worry about points only. He does it all, right?
Yes, absolutely. And so when you play that type of game against that caliber of player, that's got to be a career booster for him, confidence booster. Very happy for him last night and very happy for our Pelicans.
He had the play that made the, as the kids say, the arena lit last night with the block. With the 117-109 lead, the team was just starting to come back, and you felt this momentum shift, and he blocked flat out, cold-busted blocked LeBron James straight up on one of those tomahawks he was about to do. That changed it all. But 36 points from Terrence Jones, 33 from Drew Holiday.
Wow.
I put a tweet out. I said, somebody put him in a mental hospital because he's out of his mind right now. But these guys were on fire last night.
Yes, played Drew Holiday. Enough can't be said. You wish, obviously, you understood why. But I think a lot of the slow start can be attributed to him coming into the lineup later in the season. And so as he's played more, obviously Evans is back. These are things that as you look forward to post-All-Star, the Pelicans will have a legitimate shot at being at 8 seed.
Hey, by the way, you talk about 8 seed. 2 years ago, they're 8 games over 500, and it took the last game to beat San Antonio to get into the playoffs. They're 9 games below 500. Below. That's a 17-game difference. Absolutely. And they are only 1 game out of the playoffs. So here's your train of thought. Do you still go for the playoffs? Because, I mean, even though the team is obviously not having the record that you wanted to have, or do you become sellers at the trade deadline? Because Drew Holiday could probably get you something, but the chances to get in the playoffs don't come around frequently. This just happens to be a year where the top 7 teams are very good, but that 8th spot is literally open for all the other teams in the Western Conference because they all have a shot.
Yes. I think there's a couple different ways to look at it.
All right.
It obviously is going to depend on what the organization feels about Dell Demps. That's my opinion. If you're going to allow him to
You use the word allow. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah,
when you use the word allow, it means he's like 1 foot out the door.
Yeah, there could be some trouble there. But if he's allowed to make some improvements, I think you go for the playoffs. I think with Anthony Davis, as much playoff experience as you can get, it'll be important. And I know that Drew's contract is coming up, and it's something that we're going to have to deal with. But if you can make the playoffs, and we need to make the playoffs, in my opinion, you go for it. You try to make the playoffs. You go for it.
Okay, I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Because, by the way, the team is, one game over 500. I know that doesn't mean a whole lot to people, since at one point they were 11 games below 500. Actually, they're 2 above 500 now. At one point, this team was 10-21, and just doing some simple math, I mean, they're 8 6 cents. Right. So, does that give you any hope? Maybe so. That was at December 21st. They started on December 23rd, and they won that first of 4 games in a row.
Correct.
So 8 6 going forward, you still need to do better. But if you can go that way the whole way through with that kind of winning percentage, you have a chance. I'm just trying to let people see both sides.
Yes.
All right, let's move on quickly to the Saints, because I really want to talk about the NFL playoffs. The Saints aren't in it, and listen, we got a lot of time in the offseason to talk about the Saints, but what direction do you think this team is going? I mean, listen, this is the third straight 7-9 season. I want your opinion on this, because I've heard from others that they say, they don't feel any different than before. I, on the other hand, and I don't know what your opinion is, but I feel that this is a little bit different. I mean, they lost some close games, but they just seem better to me.
Yes, I agree. It's a different 7-9, and I know 7-9 is 7-9.
Sure.
And you are what your record says you are.
Right.
But if there's any optimism here, you look at what Atlanta is doing now. We was talking about the playoffs.
No doubt, right?
And if their turnaround quick, and it happened fast, I believe the Saints are prime position right now with cap available to them in this offseason, as well as a good draft pick to be right in the mix. And you say it every year, you're right in every game to the end. You got a possession here, a possession there. You could have won a game here or there. And they'll have to find a way to finish those games. That's going to be the thing you look for in the next season. But I do believe with some improvements to the defense, and I thought Dennis Allen did a much better job this year with what he was allowed to have personnel-wise. The Saints are a lot closer than they are away.
I agree. And you made an interesting point, because the Falcons remind me a lot of what the Saints did in 2009.
Yeah.
It's coming off a 500 season, and all of a sudden just burst out. And now people are thinking that they really have a more than legitimate shot to beat the New England Patriots. That would be blasphemy before the season.
Absolutely. And it shows you what an explosive offense, and we know what explosive offense is here in New Orleans. Sean Payton has designed one of the most prolific offenses in the history of the NFL. And so when you look at him and the stability that the front office has with him being there, Drew Brees going into the final year of his contract, there'll be a lot to prove. The Saints are hungry, and I know it's early, but you draft well, you add some pieces to the defense via free agency, and the Saints will be right in the thick of things.
I really believe it, and I'm not trying to be Homer Pollyanna. I really do believe exactly what you said. I think they're close, certainly a lot closer than 2 years ago, and even much closer than the previous year. Let's talk about these playoffs, because, listen, I got to give it up for Matt Ryan. The guy's a great quarterback, and Kyle Shanahan and what they're doing in this system, he not only made Seattle look terrible, Green Bay came in with an 8-game winning streak, just demoralized in heartbreaking fashion the Dallas Cowboys, who, by the way, they were blowing out themselves early on before. But listen, the Atlanta Falcons made them look silly on Sunday, and this team is for real. Let's talk about what Matt Ryan means to this ball club, because they remind me a lot of that high-scoring 2011 Saints team.
Matt Ryan has officially, in my opinion, arrived without any argument.
Right.
There are people that would have said that he's arrived already.
Right.
But I think now you just have to be a hater to not acknowledge.
You do. I mean, there are a lot of haters here in New Orleans, as we know. They'll still call him Noodle Arm, but the fact is the guy can play some football.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so he's deserving of the MVP.
Right.
The turnaround.
You think he's getting it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's your MVP this year.
It's close, but I think you might be right. I'm not sure. It's going to be close.
Yeah, I think he's deserving of it this year. You look at what he's done.
Right.
And again, they're no small task. You've got the New England Patriots, and they'll come in with Belichick and Brady, and they'll be game. They'll be ready. But Atlanta has got a shot to win this game. And I dare say that if I'm the Patriots here, you got to keep Matt Ryan off the field. That's
Right.
how explosive this offense is.
Well, you see, the most explosive guy potentially in the NFL with size, speed, and power is Julio Jones.
Wow.
Talk about him and the other weapons. See, Drew Brees had the other weapons, and he had Marcus Colston, but let's all be honest. Colston never made a Pro Bowl. Julio Jones could be the best player at his position in the game.
Julio Jones is special.
Right.
He's one of those guys that when he steps on the field, obviously he's an immense difference maker. And you look at him and you look at Matt Ryan's ability to spread the ball. And that was the thing that allowed Drew Brees to become the Drew Brees that we know here in New Orleans, the ability to spread the ball and not necessarily key in on one target. Matt Ryan has got weapons there in Atlanta that allows him, and not just weapons that, okay, we can get the ball or we can get a first down. These are guys out of the backfield that can take that ball 40, 50, 60 yards. And that's the thing that we saw with
Those guys
Sproles.
are scary. That combination of Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman.
Yes.
Listen, as great as some of those Saints backfields were, and I thought they had some great combinations, this one might be just as good, or they might even be able to do a little more with some of the power and speed they possess.
They're explosive. They're explosive, and they play complementary football. The balance seems to be well, and they're going to be a handful to deal with in a couple of weeks.
Well, their defense is super improved. I mean, the last 6 games, they're averaging below 20 points a game given up, and this defense is led by several LSU alum. Tyson Jackson, who you see there, he's the 3rd pick of the draft. You have, obviously, Jalen Collins, who was a second-rounder a couple of years back, and then you also have a guy named Debo Jones, who played football right here at Jewett, and he is doing some fantastic things. And by the way, we had the head coach of one of the other guys, obviously the Robert Alford.
That's correct.
Who is now going to be called Robert Flop Alford from now on after his performance. But these are great players in all Louisiana products on this Atlanta Falcons defense. So does that give you the okay to root for the Falcons because there's so many LSU guys?
Maybe.
I would say no. But go ahead.
Maybe.
You can root for them individually, but not for the team.
We want to see those guys do well, obviously. And they're deserving. They're deserving. They've worked hard to get to this position in their career. A talented, energetic defense.
Right.
Opportunistic, fast.
The defense is fun to watch. I have to give them credit. Maybe because I love Deion Jones so much. He's added something. A middle linebacker that can fly.
Yes.
You don't see a lot of them. We thought we had it in Stephon Anthony, and I don't know what happened to that progression, but they realized that maybe he wasn't the answer. Hopefully that can get turned around. I got to talk about the Patriots before I run out of time.
Yes.
Is this just amazing? 7 Super Bowls. I know you're a Patriots guy. This goes way back. This is nothing new. 7 Super Bowls for both Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. They're going for their 5th win. Remarkable. Besides that, they just played in their 6th consecutive AFC Championship game. They don't have Gronkowski. And they still, he's the one superstar they have on that offense besides obviously the quarterback. But they still are dynamite. How do they do it?
It's called genius. Bill Belichick is a genius. And we are watching one of the greatest runs in sports history.
No question.
And if they can get this championship on Sunday, Scott, I don't know how you don't call him and Brady the greatest quarterback-coach combination in history.
You kind of have to, really. I mean, honestly, because when Montana and Walsh, and then it was, obviously Young had a run. But this tandem is unbelievable. Just like my man Jason Orleans, Jason Gabriel, I got to give you a Christian name. Yes. But I got to thank you so much. You. Hey, by the way, the Patriots-Falcons, are you going to give us a winner?
Absolutely. I got the Patriots by 3.
That's the line. Can you go by 4 or by 2? Because people want to know which is it.
We can go by 4. I got Patriots 34-31. Let's go 3. Let's stay. One more thing. Stay with 3.
All right, you're going to go with the line, so people don't know what to do. I guess you got to buy your hook.
There it is.
Buy your hook to get the win, and if you bet, you know what I'm talking about. By the way, Chris Hogan came up big. And by the way, this is the number 1 defense for the Patriots in the league against the number 1 offense. And oh, by the way, the Patriots also have the number 1 offense in the AFC. So it should be exciting. I can't wait to watch. Hope it's a great Super Bowl. You're going to sign my Saints ball, man.
Awesome.
We're going to get you on that wing right there.
Awesome.
And I got you a gift certificate to take your beautiful wife
awesome.
over there to our great wine restaurant.
Awesome.
On Maple between Carrollton and Broadway. And that's my man, Jay Orleans. I got to thank him. Back yourself up so I get my one shot. There you go. Here we go. We're going to wrap up this show. I got to thank everybody. I don't just have Jay Smoove in the house. I have Mrs. Jay Smoove back there. She's taking care of business with her husband behind the scenes. Redhead Tsunami, dynamite as always. And Kenny Juno makes us hear so well. But Will Hill is the guy that makes the engine run. And I appreciate him so much, as well as Jim Dotson and Ron Yeager. And don't forget, we're also going to be on CST next week, but WLE is where it gets done. I'm Scott Alexander, Primetime Sports. See you next week.